Hey folks, this is Iceberg. I'm back with another edition of On the Icebox with Iceberg Bricks. My guest tonight is Maniac4Bricks, a true enthusiast for Lego. He's a young guy and he's telling you what's happening in the Lego news. He keeps us aware of what's going on down at Lego community as well as in retail stores. Now, he's not just a Lego guy. He's basically a 80s, 90s connoisseur guy, whereas he gets into some gaming. He gets into some gaming and he gets into everything that's 90s and 80s. So without further
Pretty much
ado,
right on the nail there.
what's
I
going
never
on,
like
man? How
Lego
you doing?
stuff, but I dabble every once in a while with different toys and games. Definitely like 90s related. So thanks for having me on the stream, and great introduction to put that out there.
Oh, I had to, man. You a fellow Jerseyan too, man. You from Jersey like me, man. We're from the same area. Gotta have you on.
It's great to be on.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, what's new in Lego's news with you, man?
For me with Lego news, I am going through a lot of cleanup around my Lego room, reorganizing things. It's actually going really well. So even though there hasn't been a lot of videos up, I have been putting a few things out there here and there just to say I'm still working on it, but it's going the way I'm expecting it.
Yeah.
And the best part about it is when it's all said and done, I will be able to get right back into building stuff as I want to. I'll get to work back on the beach town, which I've had a couple plans here and there to really update it and make it even better than I've had it before. Even with a bunch of other stuff, it'll be a lot more fun to build when I know exactly where it is.
It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So, tell me, man. Tell me this first. I'm going backwards, man. I'm gonna go forward. Okay. So, tell me, what was your first Lego set?
I'm not entirely sure of my first Lego set. I remember that the earliest ones that I've played with were with some Duplo sets. Unfortunately, I don't have those anymore, but I remember having this large tub with a very big dinosaur theme. It had like a large and small dinosaur. There was a cave woman and a caveman in it, and a bunch of other pieces to build with different colors. After that was like a cowboy set. So it must have been around the same time. But I know that my brother he's about 2 years older than me. He got into Lego, and I remember early on playing with Lego Star Wars. So some of those, I'm not entirely sure what was the first exact Lego set, but that's the best ones I remember.
Okay. So, playing with Lego at a younger age, when did you know that this was the main enterprise for you? Was the Lego? What age did that you actually, I hate to say, but take Lego seriously?
It's a good question. I'd have to say probably a couple years ago, because for a long time it was just that. It was just a toy. I would build with it. I play with my brother. I think somewhere around when episode 3 came out, he was starting to fade out of playing with Lego as much. And I have a younger sister. She didn't really get into it as much as I did, but every once in a while we'd play with it. But at some point, when I migrated more into checking out more Lego online and learning more history about Lego, I started to really get into it. In fact, I even did a video around 5th grade talking about the history of Lego through a couple sources. So it opened my mind more as to what other Lego is out there I haven't experienced yet, and made me want to go towards it.
Okay. So tell me, what's new? I mean, what's the next big adventure for Maniac4Bricks?
I'd say, well, I actually meant to do more of this last year, but I'm gonna tag team it with another thing I'm gonna start this year. Other than Lego, I like to dabble in different video games and even go back to older toys that I used to play with or collect. So I'd say the next big thing going for me is one series that I have that's going to be about video games. It's called Game Anecdote. I mentioned it last year and only really got enough time to set up one episode, but it's basically different video, or every video would have a different topic about video games or like a certain franchise of video games, where I just kind of do some reflection on it, how I grew up with it and played it, and maybe some of my favorite games, or how the games, how it changed my opinion about the games over time and things like that. Like the one I have up right now is about Sonic, and I go through some of the main Sonic games without any spin-offs, like Sonic Spinball or something like that, and just give thoughts about which ones I like, my experience of playing with them, which I'll admit I'm not a great platformer, and which ones I prefer, and maybe like a little bit of nostalgia with them, but it's still something that even nowadays I'll go back to and play anytime. Or even if I hear about other people playing them, I'll be interested in those games as well. And some other ones outside of franchises, I was thinking about doing some episodes that would be about like a thing about gaming. Like, for example, like I said, I'm a younger brother, so when my older brother would get a new game, or we would both get a new game, he would most likely be the one to play it first. So being the player too, I want to talk about my experience with that in a video across any kinds of games, and how that shapes me now with playing games of my own and things like that.
Okay.
Sorry, I got caught up on just the one thing.
Oh no, I enjoy the passion that you got there.
All right, thank you. The other series I have, the tentative name for it is Toy Mania, but I'm subject to change about that. It's basically a series about different toys that I grew up playing with, and sometimes will still play with in some capacity. So I've mentioned before on the channel, I've played with, other than Lego, I've played with Mega Bloks and Kinects, even other construction toys in the same era when I would start playing with Lego. So I want to do a series that, on some basis, I would talk about a couple toys per video, or different games, like board games sorts of things. Just to open up to just different games out there and toys that I was interested in at one point. And maybe some newer ones here and there that might be not really talked about much, but still carry an interest.
Right. Okay. So, describe for me that all the videos that you do with Lego and everything, and that's a piece of your work. Describe to me what that work is.
You mean like how I go through making a video?
Yeah, how you just a synopsis of the videos that you do produce.
Okay. So for a lot of time, I was reviewing Lego. I did that for most of the years I was on YouTube, with a couple of things dabbled in between. At some point, I started doing haul videos that would come out roughly after I came home with whatever purchase I had, or something came in the mail, and be shortly after that. And as far as the process goes, it got a lot better over time. I do not recommend people watch anything before like 2015, because it just did not. It was not recorded well, not edited well. Only a couple of things here and there might be interesting, but I definitely picked up a lot better for editing software, where I'd use it somewhere between my phone or my computer on different softwares to add effects, trim down video, like overlay pictures or video on top of it, so it gives it a better presentation.
A
process like that per video takes somewhere between 2 to 3 days, depending on the amount of content I gotta put in there. There's some of them where it just needs very little things. It's easy to do, maybe in the same day of recording it. Other things, I might have to chop a lot of things up and work it in somehow, like to make it visually presentable.
Okay. All right. Do you belong into any lugs or any Lego clubs local?
Yeah. I'm actually part of. I started about 3 years ago with Garden Slug, which is Garden State Lego user group. For those unaware, it's basically the New Jersey Lego user group, and it mostly meets Central, but there are people north and south all over. We convene about once a month or once every other month to discuss about new projects and conventions and things like that. And we always keep up with the forums, so it works pretty well. And it's right in my backyard for a lot of events, so it's pretty easy for me to transport everything and work things out as far as Legos goes, you know, each convention. I'm also part of New York, which is a little bit further up for me, even sometimes having to go to Connecticut for meetings or even conventions. But it's still good for me to branch out and meet other Lego fans, and even get to see some new conventions I'm not used to. So it'll be like a different perspective. Or even with some people, I get to build things with each other, so I get to understand different building styles.
Okay, all right, pretty awesome, pretty awesome. So tell me, what's unique about your building process?
I'd say the thing that makes my building process unique is when I build something, it goes into one or two categories. I'll start with a subject, or I'll start with a piece. I'll look at one Lego piece in any color, in any shape, and I'll get ideas right from there on what to build. And sometimes they're just really just doodling. It's just small stuff to, you know, try to get techniques or make things with different parts. But at least open the door for building stuff later on, or adding it on to something I do want to build. For example, I have a modular mock that I made a while ago called Astro Bistro. It's a space-themed restaurant. I played with only a couple of pieces to get an idea of, oh, I can make this as a sliding door function. But then as I wanted to put that into the set, or the mock that is, it just made one thing, it just made them both work. I'd still need a little bit of a modification, but it still at least kept me fresh with ideas. As far as the mocks, or as far as like if I start with a subject, sometimes I'll just go into Lego Digital Designer. I'll try to craft what I would want to see built, and then look through parts I have I can actually put them together.
Yeah. Okay. Tell me about what's unique about the content that you put on your YouTube channel. How do you give it that pop? How do you give it, you know, how do you get the viewers, you know, how you reel them in?
No, with self-doubt aside, I try to keep it very light, and I try to keep ideas open. So if I want to add something extra into a video, I'll just put that right in there, and maybe it'll be, sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's just interesting. Like at one point, I wanted to, I did it over the summer, and I had like a bunch of water guns I was going to play with minifigures. So I did it as a quick shooting gallery video. And I had music that I remember from Legend of Zelda, which had a shooting gallery mini game. So that was fun to spice up the video. And I thought later on, I was looking through, I think, Bricklink or something for odd Lego stuff, because that's something I'm really into now. Collecting odd Lego stuff that's just merchandise outside of the Lego sets generally. And I came across a couple dart guns and water guns. So I thought back to the first idea, and it allowed me to work on a new video with a new little twist on it. So it was something to build off of one idea, make it better over time. I really try to keep open with a lot of people, try to keep it friendly in the comments and throughout the videos. And I welcome new people every day.
Okay. Awesome, man. Awesome. Do you have any of the hobbies outside of Lego that you maybe bring into maybe some of your video gaming?
Right. I can't say I'm the best video gamer, but I at least try to play every once in a while different games. Currently, I've been on Super Mario Maker, so aside from just playing different people's levels, it also opens up. I'm not one for game design, but it at least opens up the door for me to craft things. I try to think of it like how I used to be into drawing and to writing, you know, like short stories or poems and things like that. Mario Maker was an avenue for me to just give a canvas and put whatever I want in there, and sometimes, you know, tweak a few things to make it an interesting way to go. So,
Okay.
but anything currently, I wouldn't say there's really too much. Every once in a while, I'll still write something as far as poetry or short stories, but it doesn't always go out there. And sometimes photography, but not on any professional level. Just like if I see a nice scene, I'll take a picture of it, and I'll keep it around. Like I always love going to see sunsets and sunrises, for that matter. So I'll always capture whenever I see those in photography.
Okay. All right. All right. So tell me, how much Lego, like, what does Lego mean to you? How much Lego, how much does Lego mean to you? Has it helped you ever persevere through a difficult situation?
I would say Lego helps me on a regular basis. I mean, there are some things here and there might be a lot to manage, but it's something that is always colorful and welcoming to me, that I'm okay with being around it all the time. A lot of times I'll build something just to get my mind off of something more stressful going on, or just keep my hands busy. So it's definitely a good way for me to just keep positive most of the time, and maybe even if I have like an idea for something, I'll use Lego as a model to work out that idea.
Okay.
So
okay. What was your? Tell me.
Sorry.
What's that? Oh, I'm sorry. I cut you off. What you say?
It's also something that, even for right now, is keeping me more focused. A lot of times I lose focus with a bunch of things going on, or even with something that I don't completely understand. So for right now, it's giving me an idea to keep focus and try to set things up, like set a priority. I say, today I want to work on this side of the room or this side of the room, or maybe as far as Lego pieces, I'll put them in this way or this way, so I can think about it better when I come back to it later.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good answer. Good answer. Tell me, what was your most difficult project that you had? Your Lego project. What was the most?
I would say, even though it's kind of simple to put together, the most difficult project I've had so far was the Bionicle mask wall, because to catch people up, it's basically a large structure that's split into different sections I can like pack in easier for transferring different places. It's a large wall built out of basic Lego bricks, and it'll have segments in there where I can put up masks from the Bionicle series. So they are a lot to collect. There's a lot of variety to them, and I wanted to make it fun for Lego fans that appreciate Bionicle or understand Bionicle to get to see how it evolved over time, and even the ones that I've collected. The hard part was somewhere between which ones do I put up and how do I keep this thing sturdy? Because which ones to put up, I had to go through, mathematically find out were they out there to collect. Going through Bricklink, Brickset a couple times just to get the right number. So that way I could space them properly. And then how do I build it to be structurally intact? Because most of the wall was actually only 2 studs thick. And it's really not a lot, something that's going to be like maybe this tall for each structure to hold together all the time. So I had to find different ways to reinforce it on the back. And at some point, I had to just demolish the whole thing. I hope to come back to it at some point and make it much more sturdy, like different techniques perhaps to work into it. Because my trouble was I was trying to make it really thin so that I could pack it easier and travel with it easier. But now I have a little bit more space to work with. I think I can make it with more extensions and more structure to it, so that wouldn't be as big a problem.
Okay, I got you. Okay. So I'm gonna break rank a little bit. I'm gonna ask you a question, but I'm gonna ask you more in detail. So with with the Lego community, the A4 community, and the YouTube stream and everything, you know, the Saturday nights, everybody shows that run from Sunday through Sunday. Um, how important is that community to you, your channel, and your builds?
I would say I do consider it important
Hmm.
to talk with other fans to see where everybody gets to shine in their own way and maybe help with some ideas. I've
Hmm.
reached out a couple times, and people have reached out to me a couple times to just get advice on how to build something or how to find a certain figure or something like that. I
Right.
do think it's important. I just personally need to take more time to interact with them on a regular basis outside of Instagram because
Yeah.
I haven't devoted a lot of time to streaming or joining other people's streams. And
Hmm.
for the few that I have seen recently, they do some really nice stuff, and it's really nice to talk with people. So
Right.
it's definitely important to meet with other Lego fans, and you get to see how everybody can enjoy the same thing in their own different way, and still, everybody get along.
Right. So here's where I break rank. So with the I guess that in the Lego community news that some folks get along with some folks and some folks don't get along with other folks. Some folks behave and some folks misbehave.
Mhm.
Now, what's your take on the I guess I hate to say a rift, but the differences in the community, in the Lego community with one another?
Right. That's always a thing. Um, it's very hard to work with, and sometimes it gets out of hand and too public. Um, I mean, for most times when people have issues with each other, it really should just remain between them
Hmm.
because it's definitely something more personal. It's not something that has to be in everybody's way, and
Hmm.
it it'll probably get resolved better when the parties who understand know what's going on. Like other people, if they were to get word about it, and they may not get all the full details, so they might draw the opinion or not find the right solution to work things out. Um,
Okay.
as far as handling those things, I'm not really sure. I mean, I've tried it a couple times, but I think it's like a case to case basis sort of thing.
Okay. Okay. So let me see. Was there any one of your bills that you were the most satisfied? Which one that you would give the gold star?
Uh, the top one. I would probably say the Bart Simpson mark because
Okay.
that was something I actually started out as Homer Simpson, like maybe a year before it was built. Just something that I've been playing around with for a while of trying to build larger sculpture type stuff out of basic pieces and of iconic
Hmm.
characters. Even for years, I've wanted to do that sort of thing, but I wasn't sure if I had enough parts or the uh, right way to build it. So
Okay.
Bart Simpson was definitely an accomplishment for me, where I could
Hmm.
put that into action. I tweak it every once in a while, um, and it also serves as a way for me to display Simpsons minifigures through the back of its head because it has like two shelves in there. So it's also functional for me if I wanted to have it for something other than just being a Bart Simpson. Like that's the thing I've always seen when displaying at different conventions. People draw to
Hmm.
that right away for how the whole thing is shaped.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. So tell us about your most memorable interaction that you had with someone regarding your Lego hobby, positive or negative.
Okay. Uh, I'm just trying to think of a good one.
Ah, stumped you, huh?
Yeah. I have like 10 coming to mind. I'm not sure which one to pick.
Oh, okay, we'll take one.
Mhm. I would probably say it might be a little cheating here, but I would say just Billy Brick Fest 2017 in total, because there was a
Hmm.
bunch of people that I got to interact with, and on a day-to-day basis, we'd have conversations and just enjoy what each other was doing, but also get to do our
Hmm.
own thing. Um, like outside of the conventions or with the conventions themselves, it was just a lot of fun. Um, a really positive experience, and also one that's really doesn't happen too often, but it's great when it does happen to meet up with everyone in person and get to see all the kinds of things that they build at once.
Hmm.
Like I've even had a couple times where we have like the same tables together and even just take a look around at what everyone else has been building and get to talk with them about things they're looking for. So it was definitely a great way to catch up with people that I maybe haven't seen in a while, but also get to meet some new faces and learn about their interests.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Very good. Very good. Um, One thing I did like about you is that I think when I first really got to meet you down at Brick Fair, Virginia. The young kid came up to you. He was so starstruck that it was you.
Yeah.
And he, after that, he was a loss for words, and he tried to walk away. But you held a conversation with him, and to me, that's a gold star in my book because at the end of the day, sorry for the pun, Joe, but we're just average
I'm all
Joes.
about fans. I just go with it.
We're just average Joes. None of us are on a high horse here. So I mean, just as quick as you got your
Right.
stardom is as quick as the exit. So, so it's very
Mhm.
important to treat people as such. So, folks, this is the
Right.
second half of the on the Icebox with Iceberg Bricks. We are going to look at a little bit of work that Joe has done. And then we're going to ask some questions about some of his mocks that he's provided for us.
There's even a
And
couple
so here
behind
we
the
go.
scenes photos thrown in there from my archives.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, I saw that. I
Yep.
saw that. I like that.
I
I like
remember
that.
one of the
I like
photos
that.
I dug out of there was from a failed brick film. Like I tried it a few times,
Hmm.
but it didn't quite work out for me. But this was like one scene I remember setting in there.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah. We'll definitely take a look. We'll take a look. I got a favorite in here that I don't want to spoil it to everybody, so I'll save it, but I'll let you know when we come up on it.
All right.
All right, folks, we are talking with Maniac4Bricks out of Jersey.
Woo.
All right, here we go. All right, so tell us about
Remember that
this
one?
this one here.
This one, I think this is back when I was called Maniac for Legos, and
Okay.
or like shortly after that, because the B would be for bricks. Um, this was one of the ideas I had to try to make a new icon for my channel and use
Okay.
that on social media, um, Instagram included. Um, and it was just a fun way for me to just play around with a couple pieces, try different shapes, and also get some nice color in there. So every letter stands out in a different way. There was at one point I didn't have the photo available at the time, but there was one point where instead of it being a yellow square, that was actually just going to be a border of a yellow square, and there would be like a green couch sitting in there because I feel like the green would better associate with me. But
Okay.
I also try. I thought this actually worked to keep things simple,
Okay. Yeah, simple,
and that's
simple is
actually the
easy.
background in there. That's the setup I
Mm-hmm.
first started with making YouTube videos.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Like the same desk, the same like CD rack that's behind there. That the computer is the same. Had
Mm-hmm.
that for quite some.
How did you get the inspiration to design your sig feed?
The sig fit came from when I started using Lego.com back in like I want to say mid 2000s. They had a way of setting up an account on there with an avatar, so I picked pieces out of that. I also wanted to build the version of it as my own minifigure, physically.
Okay.
They're all pieces from
Okay.
my collection before I started shopping online with Lego. But that was back when they used to have like an online page for every account. You could show your mocks on there, different games on the site that you played, several other different features that I don't think they're available anymore or might be in a different way. As far as this goes, I actually love in retrospect how it looks because it's a very simple version of a minifigure that you would kind of see in like the 90s or so. And I love a lot of 90s Lego sets.
Yeah.
The jacket definitely ties it together for that. But also, I came to learn when I was looking up older sets, the torso and the pants are the same combination as a figure from Lego Time Cruisers. It's a theme that has all different kinds of wacky vehicles. They almost look like box nowadays, but they're all these different vehicles that even by rolling them, they have different functions, and they're designed to be time machines. So I feel like it ties in better with my channel because I don't talk about a lot of new Lego stuff as I do with older Lego stuff. So it's like a time warp for people checking out Lego content.
Okay. Okay. All right. Tell us what we got on here. It looks like a movie scene. What inspired this scene here?
Right. This is the one I was mentioning before about making a brick film. I still have a couple of them up on my channel. Back when I was starting it out, I think around 2013 or so. This was supposed to be one from that was based on a YouTuber that I watched around that time called Markiplier. I still watch him every now and then, but I was going to try to take some audio from one of his videos into its own scene out of Lego pieces. I've done that at least once before. That's still on YouTube, and maybe a second time, but this was something just to like break a little bit of perspective with it. To like, it was something that inspired me for making the animation.
Okay. Okay.
Like this is just supposed to be like, I think as far as this scene goes, he was kind of doing this narration that sounded like he was pitching a movie. So I thought I would have a more movie-centric scene to this.
Okay. Okay. So you got a little winter set going on here. Tell us about the set right here. It looks a little finished to me.
It's mostly finished. I unfortunately don't have it all built now, but this is the first attempt that I had at a real Lego train mock. I didn't really grow up with a lot of Lego train stuff because they're mostly higher end sets from what I'm used to. But through Bricklink, I was able to get some of those track pieces. Might have also been through eBay. I know Lego itself had a lot of the wheels, and I only really had the Hogwarts Express, which the original version did not have any components. Like you just had these very plain wheels that it just rolled on the floor. You couldn't put them right onto a train track. So I wanted to take this from that and try to build my own train out of it. This was before I actually had the Power Functions IR receiver and motor, and like there's still a train motor, but it doesn't have like the smaller battery box to fit in there. So this had to be manually controlled to go around the tree. I had to. This is more complicated than it needed to be.
Right.
The battery box there sits, I think, 6 AA batteries. I had to be sure that if I put all brand new batteries in there and turn the motor on, it would be way too fast for the tree and it would fall off the rails easily. I had to take some batteries that were brand new and some batteries that have already had a bunch of life or juice out of them and mix them to the right combination where the motor wouldn't run as fast, but still enough to go around the tree on its own. I really still like how the passenger car was designed because it was enough to fit, I think, 4 minifigures in there with their own chairs. But I know that those pieces have long since been used for other projects. And I've definitely had more train stuff that I've acquired. Even recently, I got a There's some Lego train set from the 90s that most of it's complete. I just need to, work with that a little bit more, and I could actually get that running the way that most people would be familiar with Lego trains nowadays.
Okay.
Yep.
Right, tell us about your old school collection you got here.
Yep. So here's a perspective. That's the same bookshelf in the same spot. And originally, I had a bunch of video game stuff. This is shortly after I moved, about close to 2 years ago. I was planning on the basement. Like, I was given this basement space to use as I wanted to. So one of the ideas I had was, well, I'll have it for some Lego stuff, and I'll have it for some video game stuff in their own different corners. This was going to be the setup I originally posted for the video game setup. And while it didn't have every system hooked up here, it still had enough that I could switch between them easily, grab any game or any controllers necessary, and use them. So I think right now it's hooked up the NES, GameCube, N64, and my first version of the Xbox 360, which I know most people would say, oh, well, they always died out very quickly. This one was surprisingly lasting me 10 years before I had to replace it once. So I'm happy that it stayed for so long. The problem that I had was there was more video game stuff that I didn't move into that space that I knew would take over a lot of area. And I also did want to keep some stuff around for Lego to properly display. So you can kind of see some of it on the top shelf. I had the ideas sets up there for the Ghostbusters Ecto 1, the Back to the Future DeLorean, and the Exosuit. The next row down had all my Toys to Life related stuff, mostly Disney Infinity figures, because that was before Lego Dimensions came out.
Okay.
And I feel like it would be better in a separate space, maybe even my room, to move a bunch of this video game stuff so that it'll be more comfortable and I could be able to put all the video game stuff in one spot. Luckily, everything was able to move into my living room where it didn't interfere with cable and hooking up everything there. It was its own unit. But now I have 5 systems set up for one TV with almost all the accessories right next to it, ready to go at any time. But yeah, that is the exact same spot where that the same shelf. So like everything over completely changed up.
Gotcha. All right.
So I was really into the Lego Movie, enough to see it 2, maybe 3 times in the movie theaters. So there's actually a whole bunch of stuff in here. I wanted to move in to have Lego Movie related because this is from one of my haul videos. I believe probably just the thumbnail from one of them before I edited text over it. I basically picked up the 3 things you see there: the Lego Movie on DVD, Lego Star Wars: The Padawan Menace on DVD, and then Lone Ranger Cavalry Builder set. And just to have like a better thumbnail for it, I wanted to have it decorated all out with Lego Movie stuff. Shortly before that, I completed the CMF series for the Lego Movie. I got some of the poly bags. I went to 2 of the Toys R Us events that had the car you see in the front with my sig fig in it for Emmett's car before the double decker came out. And then there's like a robot in the back in red. That was also from one of the Toys R Us events about the Lego Movie, where you get a whole bunch of pieces and it shows you on a picture 3 different ways you can build these master builder robots. So out of the same pieces, and it also has a couple ball joints with it. I believe on the top was the Wild West Emmett that I got the same day that the Lego Movie came out. I wanted to get the Lego Movie video game, so I was able to get that with the Western Emmett when it launched.
Okay. Good collection. Very good collection.
Thank you. I still have to modify that in the background, but it's still here. This was a lot. This is a real fun time. Some of you may know Baron von Brunk. He's been through YouTube, Instagram, all over. And he does fantastic work with Lego and electronics to combine the two, and also his passion for video games. So he really makes everything work very well. This was at a video game con. That's literally the name of it. It's at a video game con. The first year they had it in 2015. I was interested to go. I mean, for one thing, I knew that this guy was going, so I thought it'd be really cool to meet in person. Second, it was relatively near me, so I thought, you know, might as well try it out. And I haven't really been to a video game convention near me before, so I bet it would be a good experience. And it was. They had like a whole nother. This is basically in the room where they had a couple different vendors and merchandise. But there was another room that was like everywhere. You could play video games, all different consoles and years. They were all ready to go. Even had like a Smash tournament in the background. For some time, I wanted to get some form of shirt to represent my sig fig, and also maybe do a little cosplay with it once I got the felt attached onto this jacket. So the head is actually from a costume that I did years before. It's just made out of like a really big party mix bowl. Just, you know, cut out one side of it, flipped it over, added mesh, a little bit of soft foam and tape on there, and yeah, it was a big hit. There were a lot of people that enjoyed not only Baron von Brunk's work here, but this is a working NES controller. So on the screen, I was able to actually play the NES version of Tetris just by pushing all those buttons.
Okay. That's pretty cool. Very innovative, man. Tell us this mock you got going on here.
This one's actually a pretty rare mock. It didn't stick around too long, but I believe I had it up for like 1 or 2 conventions a few years ago. I had an idea in the back of my head. I really love Hamlet as far as Shakespeare works, and I've read over the play a couple times, seen different movie adaptations of it, so I was really into it. And I thought, what could I do to make that in a Lego form? So I came up with this courtroom scene. That's kind of reminiscent of the end of Hamlet, for those who remember. Just tweaked it a little bit as far as the figures go, you know. So it's more of just meeting different castle figures in different ages. There's actually an Avatar, the Last Airbender figure in there. And I was also playing around with different pieces to try to make the walls unique, but also have something consistent with it. I really love how it's kind of simple how the pillars are made, but I like the area that's around the pillars to give like these little step up to the top of the throne, like where the chairs are seated. Just like a little bit of levels in between things, so it's not like a big contrast of one area to another. Even like you have like that half step up for where some of the figures are placed right above that desk on either side of it. The doors on the sides are also actually made out of like the old type of wooden doors. They're like half the size of those, but if you put them together, they'll actually fit in the Harry Potter style doorways.
Okay. What Motley Crew we got here?
I'm sorry?
I said, what Motley Crew we got here?
Okay, so I actually do this every once in a while. I'll play around with different minifigures to make customs. And basically, I do it without painting over them or modifying the parts in any way. I just try to work off of what Lego's officially produced and see if I can make something resembling a real life figure. I used to do this. No pictures are really shown online, but I used to really do this with my family and try to make Lego versions of my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, our pets. But I wanted to express it a little bit further. It started with Bob Ross, because I'm sure as many people thought when that series came out for CMFs, the Carpenter figure looked really well for Bob Ross custom. And I know many people have done different versions of that over time, so I wanted to try to do something too. that's the obvious one there. To the right of him, I don't remember exactly how I got the head, but I do remember it being a head from the Star Wars Clone Wars series several years ago, almost 10 years ago at this point. So I've always thought they were kind of weird heads. How would I use them for something? But then this one struck me. I got a couple facial features out of it that reminded me of Christopher Walken. So
that's the first thing I was going to say. They look like
yeah. So I based that one on his appearance from Saturday Night Live with the infamous cowbell scene with the
cowbell.
So like the right jacket for it and the hairstyle. The one next to him is supposed to be Conan O'Brien. I know there could probably be a couple changes to work that better, but for the time, it seemed just enough to work. If I changed it now, I would probably add more of a dark blue coat to him because I see that a lot more whenever I watch him on TV. I think that would fit a little bit better. But the hairstyle just made me think Conan O'Brien right away.
Okay.
Next to him, I want to say is like one of 3 different versions of Weird Al that I made. This is a lot more tame version of Weird Al. The hair always made me think of it with I believe Just Too Good did a video years and years ago where he made a Weird Al custom and a stage to work with him and also like a custom accordion. So it was like really cool. So I wanted to try to do that in a different way. Like the hair seemed just right. I don't think I would have really changed that for anything. But I wanted to try to make a couple different styles of that for the rest of his figure to try something, to try like a different style of him. I've had some where he had the same face as the paintballer from Series 10. It was a lot more crazy looking, but I think it fits Weird Al's character better nowadays. Just with how he's portrayed. Even had like the red Hawaiian shirt from the Lego Movie series. This one I would say is somewhere in between, where it's like not the old version of Weird Al, but not yet the newer version. So like, I think there's the once or twice I've seen him with like just like a sweater vest on, sort of thing.
Okay.
The next one on the right, I still have it up, and it's honestly one of my favorite versions of custom minifigure. It's supposed to be Smokey the Bear. This was something that, through Bricklink orders, I struck inspiration with this when seeing some of the Chima minifigures. For some reason, Chima inspires me for a couple customs here and there. But you know how each of the figures will have they'll usually have headgear on for a better shape of the face, but they also have printing underneath for the actual head. This one seemed to be the best fit for me for like a bear that I could use for Smokey the Bear. I forget which Chima figure it is exactly, but there's not too many, and I think it was in a couple of sets, different variants, so it's not too hard to find. Just something that I wanted to put together because at the time I also had a forest mock or some forest area that I wanted to use, and I wanted to prop him right in there.
Okay. Well done, man. Well done. You definitely got him.
I didn't mention before. I forgot about him. But the 2 figures on the left, very simply, I love Monty Python. After seeing the Holy Grail, I expanded more into like the show that they had, the Flying Circus, and a few other movies. So those 2 figures are based on the chocolate frog scene from one of the episodes. I don't remember exactly which one. And admittedly, could have used more work.
Okay.
So the figure on the left, I was trying to make John Cleese the way he's portrayed nowadays, as opposed to when he was in the show, when he was younger and different hair, didn't have glasses. So the aging between them is a little different, but it still reminded me of Monty Python by seeing it.
Yeah.
This is the Astro Bistro mock that I talked about earlier, where I tried to play with one idea about sliding doors, and then play with this idea about making a mock in a modular sort of scale, and then putting them together. So far, it's like the only real building mock that I've put a lot of time and investment into. But it's really cool. I might even have a picture somewhere of it on the interior. But it's basically a space-themed coffee shop. I remember when I was still developing it, I would have updates every once in a while through YouTube, maybe like on a weekly basis or something. And whenever I had some significant progress, on Instagram, I would post a picture about it with the hashtag coffee. So when people saw that hashtag, you could like search through a hashtag, you would see how it progressed from start to finish.
Okay.
And I still try to set up all the minifigures on top for the classic spacemen. I do it more color coordinated, like Roy G. Biv, like bright rainbow colors, and definitely expanded onto the green one from the exosuit. I cheat with the orange one because it's not really like the same logo, but it's the closest thing we have from Lego Universe. And I believe the gray one, that would be from Rocket Boy CMF. One I still like.
Right. I got you. Well done, man. It's look good, man. You're getting questions in the chat, man, at how much your collection is worth. They want to know. You got a lot of good sets.
I honestly don't know, and I'm afraid of finding out. Yeah, there we go. We got the interior picture. So one thing I really enjoy about this is I don't limit myself to any particular space theme for the homage. Like top of it, yes, with the classic space. But everything inside of here is supposed to be from different space themes throughout time. It's like when you walk into, I guess part of the inspiration, it's like when you walk into Hard Rock Cafe or Planet Hollywood, and you get to see all these relics from different time periods and different celebrities and their different performances all at once. Hang on the walls while you eat and while you walk around. It's cool to see them. I had that inspiration while working on this. Along the walls of it. There was one wall that I never really finished that was supposed to have a big classic space logo, but I couldn't really get the right pieces to line up to make it the right shape. It was always a little bit off. But there's also like a whole bunch of stuff on the left side. There's like a mini fridge in there, or a minifigure fridge, I should say. It's just like a fridge with like a couple of like orange juice and milk. That would be from the Friends theme. The Pac Mon that's in there, I remember getting from Brick Builders Club when that was available for one of their subscription boxes. It was a simple thing that it was already pre-built, so stickers are no problem. And I thought that would be a great little thing to add in there for a coffee shop. That whole mechanism on the right, where you see a bunch of gears, is how the sliding door was supposed to work.
Okay. I see. Okay. All right. Awesome.
So there is.
Tell us about what inspired this build.
What was that? I think it cut off.
I said, tell us about what inspired this build.
Okay. This is the one I mentioned before, the gold star mock of Bart Simpson bust. I mean, my interest in sculpting out of Lego pieces, I guess probably the earliest inspiration I had for it was like the Lego magazines. Every once in a while, you would see these pictures from Legoland of some really impressive mocks, or not mocks, really impressive busts of different celebrities, different minifigures sometimes. And I've tried dabbling with it for a really long time. I remember around 5th grade, I had an idea because I really got into Abbott and Costello movies, and I still know who's on first all the way through both Abbott and Costello parts of them. I really wanted to build Abbott and Costello as a sculpture. And I may have been too ambitious because I thought life size, and I was like, I don't even know if I have the pieces for that. Which I didn't. I didn't even get more than a shoe of a build before I stopped. But I still like the idea of trying to work with like a lot of pieces to really shape something together, like progressively over time. I think Ben Franklin was another one I wanted to build at one point. But this was something where I wanted to. I really got more into The Simpsons a couple of years ago, and like watching just various episodes on TV, regardless of the seasons. So Homer Simpson is like the eyes and the nose are exactly what I used for building Homer Simpson. I was going to I have it a little bit of a longer nose, but it was the same shape and the same pieces that I was going to use there. And I thought, well, maybe it would be better to work on Bart Simpson, because then I could like add a little bit more with the hair on top, and it might be more interesting to build, which it was.
Right. Okay. Okay. Just a quick, easy build.
I always, whenever I bring this to conventions, I'm always curious how many people recognize it. And I'm even wondering if people recognize it in the chat now. Before I get to what it is, it basically started with the Big B splat. There was one Bricklink order that I placed with Big B where I was getting a whole bunch of parts for a smaller building in my Lego town. And as tradition, he includes one of these purple splat pieces in order when you use a hashtag or something like that. When I saw this piece, I thought, you know, that reminds me of some, obviously I have to go back to this reminded me of something that I've seen before, and I could probably work with it a little bit to actually build it. This is supposed to be Daffy Duck in a specific Looney Tunes short, one of my more favorite ones, Duck Amuck. It's basically about Daffy Duck breaking the fourth wall, which is only like 2 or 3 of them that really are on the subject of it, where the animator manipulates the background to say, you know, like whatever he's holding, how he looks, and even his voice. So this is in one part of that episode where Daffy Duck is like completely erased except for the mouth, eyes, something, and then redrawn to this ridiculous, I don't even know what to call it. But if you look up Daffy Duck, Duck Amuck online with an image, it's relatively close. Like I've still tried to get, there's like some kind of like pattern in the stomach area that for the smaller scale I had to compromise with, trying to get a little bit of the lime green red in there. The flag is my favorite part of it. It's simple, but it's effective because it's supposed to be one of the signs you would sometimes see in a Looney Tunes short to make fun of someone. And it was also fun about this one in particular. I made the head so that if I wanted to position it differently, there's actually another hinge joint in the back of it where if I just pop the head off and refigure it, he can move it forward instead of to the side.
Okay. Well thought out. Definitely well thought out. Your Sigfig collection is growing enormous, man.
This is my Sigfig collection. It definitely needs some upgrading. A new photo for it. Some people might remember at one point I built a mock. I called this a mock of everybody in the community because we're all putting things together. We like conversing with each other just spawns more ideas and more interactions and just ways to look at Lego in different ways. So it definitely is like a breeding ground for all kinds of things that might have not come to us on our own. So this was as a video. I believe this may have been actually the thumbnail for the video. This was a way. I don't remember if I did a certain like subscriber point. I think it was just I did it because I wanted to do it.
Okay.
It was just a way for me to say thank you to everybody in the community and interacting with each other. Some of them I've met through live streams like this, or just through comments and just checking out other people's videos. I remember this having somewhere close to 100, but I know that by now it's grown much more than that.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's good stuff.
And majority of these are going to be fitted back into my beach town relatively soon.
Okay.
This is this was part of a series I wanted to do that would work with modular buildings. Because with Garden Slug, we normally have some sort of setup with a couple of train tracks around, like a few loops of them going around a large city. Stuff in a modular scale, so at least 32 by 32 for the base plates. And I wanted to try something that wasn't building, because we had plenty of those to work with. And I thought, why not try to make some park-related stuff or sports-related stuff? I'm not even a sports guy, but I was still interested in the subject.
Okay.
So it started out with a small version that I built, maybe like one half of this thing that I built for my own town. Because
Mm-hmm.
in compromising some space, it was still enough to get the look of being a tennis court. So I thought, well, if I'm going to expand it for a modular configuration, I would try to make a little bit more out of it with 2 different sets for the tennis courts, a better gate to go around the whole side of it. And I believe in the front of it, it's also supposed to have like a small water fountain.
Okay.
To the minifigures in here, one of my favorite parts about it is how the plates and tiles work together. The fencing, it was a really good idea to put them all on jumper pieces or like maybe a few tiles in between them because it
Okay.
would give even space between both courts. But also, it carried the line from one side to the other, like in the middle of
Mm-hmm.
them. I think I still have
Mm-hmm.
to change out the white one on the left, but I'm sure I have a replacement somewhere to make it
Yeah.
like gray. But there's still a way
Okay.
for me to like the right lines that would be inside of a tennis court appropriate.
Definitely. All right. Here's the Bionicle wall you were talking about.
Yep. This is one of the uh, probably one of the most prominent ways I put up the Bionicle wall. There were a couple masks added after that, but there was still some time before it got demolished and, trying to work on rebuilding it.
Okay.
But it has a progression to it. Like every
Mm-hmm.
segment of it not only has a different height, but also a different assortment of masks that would be collected over time or would be seen throughout each year of Bionicle. The first one on the left was kind of a combination of the first 2 to 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
where like with each figure, you would have when they started it. With each figure, they would have about 6 or 7 colors to that mask that you could use with other figures. So either you could have 2 figures with the same mask but different colors to fit their characters.
Okay.
At some point, they expanded it further to have like silver and gold variants.
Right.
Some masks had more developed to them. I had the fun sign for Fragile
Mm-hmm.
built out of Lego, just because again, it was a very thin structure. Don't let the plates on the top tell you otherwise. It is not completely filled out there.
Okay.
But the one in the middle, I believe, was about 2002 to 2003, where there were different types of masks that were made of a softer plastic, and they fit on the same heads as the first year, but they also had different shape to them and a lot more color to them.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of them I was able to pick up through Bricklink while working on this project for really, really cheap. The one Bricklink store, I was trying to find a more exclusive mask, and I wound up finding a lot of other ones I didn't have for maybe 10 cents or so. I don't remember exactly, but it was enough to say, I'll throw these into the order too, even from an international seller. The one on the right is a combination of a couple of years because they changed the head up shortly after the second one, and the masks also, like the way they were designed, was also changed up. So there are a lot more characters to those, a little less of color variants for each mask, but it still had a bunch of things that could be included there. In retrospect, I probably could have broken it off into 2 separate walls, even though they would have been shorter.
Mm-hmm.
It does look very crowded in there, but
Okay.
I still liked what I was working with, like
Okay. Yeah.
collecting all those between different sets and such.
Mm-hmm.
So this is again part of the quote unquote modular park series. You can see the tennis court in the background, but in the front is the baseball mock. I came up with this idea with Lego Digital Designer. Like there's some of them that I actually just start building it and see where it takes me, but this was
Mm-hmm.
one where I started to really get into like designing on the computer, seeing if I had the parts available, and then making the necessary Bricklink orders to get whatever I need. This went through 3 different designs. on the scale of it, just to be sure that it would all fit on the same base plate, but also be like still contain everything. Like there'd still be an infield, some allusion to an outfield, and still cover all the bases and give like the right diamond shape. There are some times where the diamond was a bit wider and there wasn't as much an outfield. But for this one, I had fun with it and just put a little bit of an infield in there, but it still wraps itself together nicely. The dark tan, I would have preferred those in just regular tan to fit with everything else, but then as baseball fields go, you know, dust and dirt gets kicked up, so I think it still fits with it as the color is. And for baseball team, I didn't really have a lot of baseball-related minifigures to throw in there or customize, so I thought it'd be fun to just throw in the Lego Movie cast and some of the Simpsons that I owned, and people really enjoyed.
Yeah, the Simpsons had a episode where they had a couple baseball games where Homer got benched.
Right. Yeah.
So here's another view of the your Bionicle wall there, and like you were saying that it was fragile because it was only about 2 bricks over, you know, which is, you know, if you went any larger, that would be a lot of brick used. But it
was a lot of brick as it was to pick up. But because I did a combination of Bricklink orders and Lego store pick brick wall stuff. Like I would just fill cups and cups at a time with just 2x4s, 2x2s, in the same color, so they would all like put together the wall. And even then, I would run out really. But yeah, the side definitely gives the idea for the structure of it. That would break almost every time it went to a convention.
Oh, I believe it. I believe it. I believe it. So another quick build for you.
Yeah, this was a quick build from a Lego event. I don't remember exactly how I heard about it, but one of my Lego stores near me was hosting an event in the mall that the Lego store was in, like outside of the store, but in a section of the mall, where people could come in. They get to build a mosaic out of 1x1 Lego pieces. And they would have like a couple of wall displays to prop them up for a day or two. So I thought I would check it out. And this was shortly after Finding Dory came out. So I really enjoyed that movie. They even went through the Disney store at the same time. So I wanted to try to build something from that movie that, you know, since I just saw it. So this is supposed to be Hank the Septopus. So if you look around, you can only count 7 tentacles on him like he was portrayed in the movie. I don't remember. This might have been the second or third one that I did, because the first one I built was Dory, and trying to make her in the really cute like baby version they showed in some of the flashback scenes. But after I put that one up, people really liked it, and the Lego store employees encouraged me to build another. So I tried out Hank, and then after that, I think I tried Marlin. All building on the same base plate, like they were hung up in a row with the rest of the mosaics that were displayed there from other people. This is another example of a custom minifigure that I built. I had a bunch of the pieces for a while, but for some reason I didn't get around to putting it together until now. Or, you know, when this photo was taken. I wanted to try to build Mega Man out of Lego. And, well, I know people have tried times before in making video game characters in minifigure form. I've tried before with Sonic, like years and years before Lego Dimensions came out. So I thought at some point I would build it as Mega Man, try to get the right color scheme to him. I had the blue helmet already, which probably was the most inspiration to get that going. And I thought the face just seemed right. Like every time that he would jump in like the older games, he would have that sort of scared expression to me. I've actually never played too many Mega Man games, but something about him always interested me. The most that I've known is Mega Man 3, which, even though I still can't beat it, I still have fun with playing it every once in a while.
Oh, Mega Man. So this is my favorite right here. This is what I saw. This right here This right here took me back down the memory lane. You had little shop of horrors.
That's right.
Tell me about this. Tell me about this vignette you got here.
This is like second for Gold Star. I mean, as far as everything with it, it probably should be first. Admittedly, it does have a lot more to it than the Bart Simpson does. I just felt like there was so much building up to Bart Simpson. I thought of that first.
Mm-hmm.
But
okay,
yeah, definitely one of my favorite mocks. And it really welcomed me into a lot of building techniques. So one of the things I always wanted to build was something with a checkerboard design, like maybe a diner or something. So I for some time I collected a lot of these Erling bricks that are seen on the floor of it, because I knew that a bunch of those going together could make a group of squares. So and also make a smooth floor, so break up from all the studs. But then at some point I got a Hero Factory set on clearance that had this cocoon shape that when I turned it around, like checking it out for a review or whatever, I thought, this looks like Audrey 2's like head. So from there, I built from that inspiration, I built the rest of the model to work around it. Technically, Audrey 2's head is actually positioned on a wall, so it's actually not even on the rest of the potted plant itself. And there's even like a couple of things with like the tentacles on either side of it that are just kind of slid in, again, using different building techniques to still get what I was looking for in a different way than just one piece on top of another. And there's a little bit closer look at it. So it definitely has enough space you could fit a minifigure entirely in there. The rest of it around it was a little bit difficult. Just trying to find the right pieces and still get the right look for it. I went through a couple of photos to get the right scenery to go around Audrey 2. So a few compromises here and there, and I was actually hoping at some point to make this into a series of vignettes, not necessarily horror related, not necessarily to a certain set of movies, but at least something that would be in the same like 16 by 16 base plate and portray movies in different ways, not like a certain genre is what I meant. Unfortunately, I didn't have Harold Ramis as he was portrayed in Ghostbusters, so with the firehouse set. So I had to use Egon's face from Ghostbusters to work here.
Rick Moranis, Little Shop of Horrors.
Yep. And coincidentally, the same convention, I believe it was Brick Fair, New Jersey, maybe 2016 or so, the same convention where this debuted, somebody else built an Audrey 2 mock and using the same technique I used for the head. Complete coincidence. I didn't talk to them about it or anything beforehand. But it's someone at another table had like a couple of amusement park setups. And in one of them, he used a bunch of these Audrey 2 heads to build this ride that would rock back and forth up and down while it spun, and had like, you know, each of the arms would be tentacles and things like that. And very much an Audrey 2 themed amusement park ride. So I thought it was really funny after I put this up, like set on my table and everything, and then I waltzed around to see the other mocks, and I come across this, like the same head, know exactly what it was.
Oh. So this is a look at your town on your table that you got.
So there's a short area of my Lego beach town, which I call Studside Heights. And for those in New Jersey, you probably got the reference. There's one of the beaches that I actually go to a lot is Seaside Heights. So
Seaside Heights.
For a play on words. Studside Heights.
All right.
The creator buildings are just pretty much propped in here, but I modified a little bit to put them in with the background, put them in with the like the waterfront properties, and the tops of them didn't really come off in the sets, but I felt like if I just add a couple plates here and there and tiles, I could make those removable. So even though I can't hinge both buildings open, I can still go in and change things around if I wanted to. The rest of the town in the background is going under development, as you can see by a bunch of the construction stuff, which pretty much I've used that for every time I've built a town. There would be some area devoted to construction because I wasn't done with something yet. Or I just have like just laying around. I wasn't sure what to do with them. Like I see a bunch of tan and dark tan there. So I just have construction workers just thinking about it.
Right. Nice little marker there.
The next one is a little hard to see because I did it as a panorama. But it's a panorama that I did for one of the displays we had with Garden Slug, I believe 2016. This was in South Jersey. I don't remember exactly which town it was, but it was for like a small convention that somebody hosted in a library, where a lot of fans from different franchises, comic books and video games, just had a place to check it out for a day. We were invited to go there and display our stuff. We had like a corner of a library to set up, and each person had pretty much their own table to work with. Not a lot of people were biting on that idea, but for the couple of us that did, we had a lot to prop up there. So a lot of the mocks you saw before, I put up there for part of my display. And the big Olaf that's there, I almost every convention in New Jersey I display at with Garden Slug, I'm paired with that guy. it just happened to like have the same table or nearby him. But that's an incredible mock.
Right.
I do give it a lot of credit. He spent months and months of designing that and trying to get all the pieces together. It actually lights up. So like his mouth lights up because they're trans blue pieces in there, and he has like a flashlight put inside of the model. And he had the design for a while from other mods that he built. He used to build a couple of different bases out of Lego pieces, and therefore got the right structure for it, for building each part of the snowman. He's also really into Bionicle, so he always likes the Bionicle stuff I propped up too.
Hold on a second, I'm having trouble with the PowerPoint.
Right.
Let's try this again.
Helen says tennis was the only sport she played in high school, and she approved of the tennis court. I only played tennis in high school when I had to play it for gym. And I guess you can put badminton into that category too. But it was still a lot of...
I got you. There's a better shot of that panoramic.
There's a better shot of it. The one guy there, Tim, I've also talked to him a lot through conventions and with Garden Slug. So I definitely like the stuff he builds. He's done a couple of buildings here and there. Like I think one he has up there was based on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so I was really into it. Just kind of like the back alleyway and having a cool fight scene going on with a lot of the figures. But he's built a combination of things, usually just like large scenes of various themes. Like he's done pirates, he's done a little bit of space here and there. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, as I mentioned. So some of the other ones around here on the far right, that if you've been to Brick Fair, New Jersey, he is the same guy that built the giant castle mock that takes up like a quarter of our display. No problem with it, because it is impressive how he puts that all together. I've seen behind the scenes how he transported all that. Like it's a giant U-Haul full of his mocks. But it's really impressive to see everything go together for that. And he's always like expanding ideas of, how everything is built.
Oh, I believe it. I believe that definitely. Oh, this was the train that was under your tree.
Yeah, this was the train again. When I took it off of the rails after the Christmas tree, because I didn't mention before, but I used to build mock every Christmas as a tradition.
Mm-hmm.
Just something I made up. It would be somewhere between like Santa related stuff and more religious, like nativity things. Sometimes it build different years, but I thought it'd be fun to add it in for a Christmas train and change it up. After that was taken out, I would use it for conventions here and there as just like a small display piece.
Okay.
So it was a little bit easier now to see how the front of it went together, how each of the sides of the passenger car were made. What I also like about this is the power functions at the time that I only had available was mostly from the battery light kit. So the large lights that are on there have like a big wire to it, and I had to tuck all of that in a cramped space, but it still worked. So on the front of it, even on the front, I think I had like some reflective, like there's like chrome dish pieces, so it helped reflect the light a little bit better as it shone through there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's pretty innovative, man. That's pretty, yeah.
So this is one of the earlier forms of a Lego town that I had. People may remember that from several years ago, and what people really liked about it was it was what I call double deck Tropolis, where it had 2 layers to it. I had a more confined space as far as shelving and things before I moved here, so I would compromise with that by building an underground and underwater area that the whole city would pretty much sit on top of. So it was a little bit tricky to get everything to fit there because I didn't use the base plate to hold everything on top of it. I thought it might have been too flimsy. So I actually built it as like a plate layer, maybe like 3 plates thick for all the buildings and cars and everything to go on top of there. So, and also with the smaller scale, it also allowed me to build more buildings with simpler pieces and style to it. So each building would have like a different color or color scheme to it to tell them apart from each other. The one in the back I've used separately with a winter setup, and it's basically a toy shop with 2 floors to it. So the bottom floor had like a bunch of different toys in there. The top floor had like a unique roof that I built, and also had like an area for Santa visits and things like that for the holidays. There's like a red automobile shop and like a couple construction workers behind there. Next to that, I think, is a gas station where it's like white, green, and light, like a lime green in there, kind of like Quick Check colors. One of those big plates that also works as a road, but it's really short. So it had room to like fit a car in there, but also hook them up to a gas station. The green building behind it never fully got developed. It was kind of just like a piece there that's still being worked on, but I don't think I had like a purpose for it by the time I moved on. The building next to it it's strange. I don't know why I thought of it, but it's a bank on the bottom level and a police station on the top. Like, like the safe is right underneath the prison. So, not the best security. It's close, not quite there. There's a yellow thing in there that's actually a yellow school bus. I probably should have had a separate photo put up for that because
for the school bus,
is a mock that I enjoy. And most of the other buildings were like a couple of houses or a couple of stores. But there was a lot of stick fig activity in there too.
So you don't have this one up.
No, well, like most of this is still up, but there's still things being changed around with it. I think I had this up maybe August last year, and the only real reason I didn't change anything up for it yet is because all those boxes around the sides, I wanted to move those, and with a bunch of videos, it was kind of hard to make videos regularly and work on the Lego room. So when the holidays hit, I thought, let's just cut off the videos for a bit and do the room cleanup. So that way I can work around everything. I can modify what I need to and change the city up the way I want to. Because it's like the hospital is entirely a mock. The police station was from a set, which I wanted to collect a while ago. But I feel like if I compromise a little bit with that, I can make it into a police station and a fire station to better suit the scale for this town. I don't really have a lot of room to fit other tables down here to expand this further. I was actually hoping at one point I would fit a train in here, but that's still like a little bit hard to work with for the way the town is developed. But it still has enough to go on with it that I could, change things up every once in a while and still get the beach theme that I'm looking for. Okay. A lot of the base plates down here are actually mounted to the tables they're sitting on, like with mounting squares and things like that. So only a couple spots here and there I can actually take everything out but not interfere with the road whatsoever. Because if everything was loose, then it would be a mess all the time, trying to move buildings around and base plates going every which way.
Okay.
Now, feel free to interject at any point because as you know by now, I can ramble.
Oh, you're good, man. You're good. I want you to explain it. Like the thing about it is, like with this show here, it's we make our mocks and you take pictures of it, but nobody truly knows the story. So I try to give you the platform to tell me the story on the creation.
Sure. Good point. This was shortly after the summer wave of Lego sets came out. I really like the design aspect for some of the creator sets, and they're on the cheaper side. So I thought, well, maybe I'll pick up like 2 of them and see how they'll work into my town. So it'll be like easier to prop in there, and I can like maybe modify it a little bit to work with drownings. I really love this style for them. I would pick up more of these creator sets for these specific modular buildings if I could. These are the kinds where you could take out windows, doors, everything, and like still have the frame of the house itself, like the main part of it, and just customize it to all different ways. You can add floors to it. So I really love that aspect. And with a little bit of math and Lego Digital Designer, I tried to figure out, can I work this into my town on a 32 by 32 base plate? And I could. I could fit both of the buildings in there. I didn't fully finish, but I was supposed to fit in a driveway on either side, kind of where the kid on the skateboard is, and you see the car behind it. There's also supposed to be a fence on either side, so it would separate the yards between them, but it would still be enough to like make them residential.
Okay. It looks very, very residential, man. I mean, you definitely got your plans mapped out, and this is you're mapping out your plan here. Of course, you got more on the table now, but
yeah, the beach looks very empty, but I anticipated I'm gonna need like the base plate room at some point to populate it with minifigs, to put up beach towels, umbrellas, all kinds of things we'd see at the beach. Maybe an ice cream stand or 2. Well, I'd say one of the early inspirations for the beach town was the curved base plates. At some point, I was looking on Bricklink to see those, and they were from the Wild West sets, and they had like this very dirt and sandy look to them. So I thought this would be great to use if I could work that into a town, just to like add some variety to it. That would be like the dirt road where people would be parking. That would always be, sand going everywhere, but it would still be something to separate from the residential area of the beach town.
Okay.
This one was the Brick Fair, Virginia. It debuted in 2017 there, and it was made like shortly before it. Actually, Kellen gave me the idea some time ago. She and I were talking for quite a bit, and of trying to make a Cinderella glass slipper. For some reason, I thought about making that out of transclear pieces. She encouraged me. And I went back some time later, tried to find the right pieces, and like a pick a brick cup or 2 later, here it is. It's actually really fragile, and not because of the glass slipper. It's supposed to be like that would be fragile on its own. This only uses 2 elements aside from the base plate. It has a 1x1, or it has the 1x2 bricks, and then it has the 2x2 slab. It's entirely made just from those, and not as a challenge, just I had a whole bunch of those available. So transporting this was very, very delicate. I had once or twice where the whole back of it would fall right off because it didn't. I only had like a couple points to connect it.
Right.
The middle part was just slopes on top of each other with no bottom support or anything like that.
Okay.
So it is a tricky thing to carry around, but it's still a nice start to what I was hoping for. I think I still have like a couple pick-a-brick cups full of trans clear pieces.
Mm-hmm. Nice innovative.
So
Nice
Bart Simpson
innovative.
again.
All right.
Yep.
And you got
I
Big
changed
Bird.
up the base plate on that one to be easier to carry it around and be easier to fit in the boxes, like make it half
Okay.
as big.
Yeah.
The Big Bird next to it was shortly before. It was like a convention or two before Brick Fair, Virginia, when that came up. And these are both in the same convention as far as pictures go.
Okay.
This is an area for sculptures, so they fit there. I had a bunch of magenta or pinkish Lego pieces and orange ones.
Mm-hmm.
From one of the earlier pictures I showed where I had a town and there was like that one building that had it split down the middle between pink on one side and orange on the other. So as I looked at them together, I thought of Big Bird. I was like, maybe I could try to build Big Bird in a sculpture form out of these. I wanted to add an extra flavor to it and say, what if I built Big Bird as if it was a minifigure? So it might be a little hard to tell, but there is some minifigure shape to him.
Right.
Even down to the feet. Like, even though it's webbed feet, it still would have close proportions to what it would be on a minifigure. I tried to add more detail to get like the fluff, the feathers, and the front of it. The head is probably the most, like, it probably needed the most work. It definitely could have been a little bit wider, a little bit more fleshed out, and have a lot more feathers to it for detail. And look a little less robotic, as some people said. I've even had kids. I don't know how many people are watching Sesame Street nowadays, but I've had kids say that this model was Chica from Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah,
that's funny. I just had to smile and let him walk away because I'm thinking it's Big Bird. I don't know how I got that wrong. Maybe it's because of the minifigure look that it looks more like rigid and robotic than Big Bird. But I tried, maybe like with a little bit of work, it could have been a little bit better. Yeah. This was the same time. This was taken like the same day, and shortly after a live stream where I got in the mail a really fun Lego product. It was something that I heard about months and months before. I wasn't really sure if it would be available online. That this is actually the first Lego video game. Before Lego Island. Like most people would say Lego Island's the first Lego video game. This came out 2 years before, and it seems like a Japan exclusive from what I've found. It is for a system called the Sega Pico, which by itself sounds like an obscure thing for video game fans. It's basically this kind of tablet device, like with a touchpad on it. You can see there for education purposes most of the time, or just like a fun elementary like toy sort of thing. Well, less of a video game and more of like a teaching thing. It was still widely available for public between Japan and America in the late 90s, but not many people would really go back to it except for maybe a collector value at this point. So I was able to find each of these separately, but at the same price of each other, and waited for them to come in the mail. The Pico came first. It had its own game with it, and then I was able to get the Lego game Fun to Build later on. I really love this thing. I would love to have. I mean, I don't have it set up currently to play on any systems or any TVs, but because you'd still have to hook it up to the TV itself, have the screen there. But it would still be fun to have that in some display fashion set up like that. Now, here is another fun, again, rare, maybe obscure Lego item that I collected in 2017. This was like immediately after getting it. I was like, I'm so happy. I cannot let this go. And I probably have video footage of it too. Like on one of my on a montage, I included part of that in there, but without the audio. This is the Lego Duplo Super Truck, if I understand, if that might be the right name. It's something I actually owned back in the early 2000s. I got it as a gift. It came with like a box of pieces for Duplo, and like a minifigure in there, or Duplo minifigure in there, like the same one as the driver you see on the front. Back in the day, this was a thing that kids could play on and build in the back and actually dump out the back. And it's not intended to be a riding toy, more of just like a pushing toy. Like you could just push it around. It has the warnings on the back of not to ride on it. But at some point, there were some faults with it. The wheels on the bottom of it and the axles would have a tendency to pop off when it was being played with. So it caused a few injuries for kids, nothing lethal. But it was still something that the Lego group wanted to be sure doesn't, that they keep it safe. And this is technically the first recalled Lego item ever. And there's only been 2 so far. They still list them on the Lego website. So when I had this back in the day, I played with it a couple times and building with the pieces. And I did have to give it away at that time for its recall. This was, when I picked this up, I was staying over at a friend's house, and they looked through Facebook Marketplace, sometimes for Lego stuff. They saw this come up, Lego truck. Seller didn't seem to have any indication about this being a recalled item or anything like that, but they knew that's exactly what I was looking for. They told me about it. I went up. I got up, dressed right away. I went out in the morning and picked it up for $5.
Wow, not bad. Not bad.
It's great for $5 as a rare item, but it's also great for $5 because you cannot buy this on Bricklink. It's completely it's just cataloged on there. Like there is no option for sellers or buyers for that item. And while the stickers are starting to fade on it, I'll try to reapply them later. It is still really fun to have and play around with. I have a similar one for Quattro too, but that'll be another story.
Okay. So tell us about your Lego library.
So this is a sample of the Lego library, and for right now, I have some of the red and black Lego cars up there. They're really stylish to me. Over time, I would collect different Lego books, be it activity books or the Dorland Kindersley series of books. And, I would learn new Lego things, or some of the older ones. I would just have fun with reading Lego stories. Like the junior novels they put out still, where it's just like a theme with a bunch of characters, different pictures in it, and easy reading. So at some point, as I started collecting more of these books and rearranging the Lego room, I thought it would be a great idea to put these on a bookshelf. I used to have a bookshelf for it in my elder place, but it was really tight and didn't have a lot of it wasn't really easy to see everything as far as the books there. So this is actually on the bookshelf sitting next to me, where I have it a lot more organized, a lot more expanded upon, and it still has room for expansion even now. Like right now, it's 3 shelf units on a single bookshelf of 5, and it's got enough room in there to fit like a couple more books on each one. Okay. Like I can just come over here, grab a book right away if I need it for editing a video or doing something. If I just have to look something up. Okay.
All right. So now we're looking at some of your figs. I see you collect a lot of Batman figs and Ninja Turtle figs you got going on here. And
basically with the superheroes, it's just kind of a record it's more of a record for superheroes, Star Wars, and licensed figs of what's up there. Than trying to get specific ones. There's ones that I've collected over time and would be fun to put up on a wall. There's some more of my custom figs. As you can see, Smokey the Bear and Bob Ross made it back in the picture. Right. And there's a couple other ones I added in here. The one on the bottom left is not based on anything, but I believe I was in Big B Brick's store at one point for Bricklink, and I saw this head that had like a devil shape to it. So I remember seeing it once or twice before from a set, but I thought it would be cool to make a minifigure from that. So I thought of the phrase handsome devil or little devil or something like that. So
Right. Catch.
I crafted the rest of the minifigure around that. So he's kind of just a playful little mischief maker that I've carried around in different parts of my Lego town. Sometimes he would, throw trash everywhere, or he would set up blockades and cut off roads. Just simple little stuff to prank people.
Right.
Okay. There was the two on the right that are based on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
So Toka and Razor, right?
That's
what?
I don't remember the name of the polar bear one, but they're both based on their designs from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game,
right?
Which I had on NES. I really loved that game. So I wanted to try to make those in Lego form. I think at one point I even had them with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle figures on the display wall.
On the display wall, yeah.
On the left was a couple figures based on Gravity Falls. Some of you may recognize Grunkle Stan and Bill Cipher in there. And then on the right side were two figures that were from the show Star versus the Forces of Evil. It's Marco and Emilio. I love one of the scenes that they have interacting with each other, so I thought it'd be fun to put those together as minifigs.
Right there. Okay. Good history on the figs, man. I mean, that's definitely awesome, man. I mean, especially you being innovative and creating your own. Like you said, no painting, no marker, no nothing like that. You just using actual Lego pieces to actually make what you want.
Exactly. Like these are ones that any of you could build if you can find the right parts to them. If you want parts lists for them, feel free to ask me because I could easily supply those.
Okay. So these are a little bit of old school, couple of old school sets and games and stuff you got here on the shelf.
Yep. I collected Lego board games for a long time, and I still have other board games I collect too. But every once in a while, more nowadays, I'll try to get more of them for the flashback series of obscure and lesser known Lego products. A lot of these I still need to cover for that, but that you can see a bunch of puzzles that I've done in the past. I would love to go into the board game aspect of it because I've been playing around with that for a bit. I even did a live stream with one of the board games, and this is just like right underneath the Lego library itself. So there's still a little bit of room in here for adding more board games, but I still have to work out how things are going to go. The Lego Design by Me set, somebody offered that on Facebook, like a Facebook Marketplace sort of thing. And it's actually a chess set that somebody made. This was second-handed from the original designer. So it's not like a super rare set in any aspect that people would be looking for it, but it's still fun to see a Lego fan that designed a model through this program of Lego Digital Designer and make it their own set. I still even have in here, I did a review of it on my channel, but I still have in here everything about the pieces, the instructions, the order form. It's really cool, just a little piece of Lego history, because I never tried that program, but I've always been curious about it.
Okay, all right.
Since it is a test set, I thought it would fit with board games.
Yeah. Hey, folks, we're speaking with Maniac4Bricks, Joey from New Jersey. You can follow him on Instagram, Maniac4Bricks Official, and YouTube, Maniac4Bricks.
Yep. And I know a lot of people, I think I got a lot of people in the Lego community hyped up for the Lego Time Cruisers board game, even probably in the stream now. But years ago, people saw that when I was doing a live stream. And I remember that being a thing where everybody wanted to play it and get their own copies of it. The price of it started jumping up online. And then there was some point where we wanted to make it a traveling board game where, different places, people would be able to bring the game and play it.
Yeah. So Joe, one more question before I let you go, man.
Yep, go ahead.
So you go to the Brick Fair in Virginia, right? And I don't know, you step into a time portal, right? And you see your six-year-old self. What do you tell that young kid that's inspiring Lego as you do? What do you tell that kid?
Well, after that 6-year-old kid stops running all over the place and screaming and excitement at everything he sees.
Mm-hmm.
What would I say to him? I would say that, you know, Lego is a thing you should stick with for as long as you can. It's a thing that everybody can enjoy, and you'll
Mm-hmm.
always find people building cool stuff and being a part of those people. And that could be you on that table one day.
Right, right.
Like being able to inspire the people or get to see in a closer perspective how everyone builds.
Okay, okay. Well, Joe, I want to thank you for being on the show, man. I appreciate your time and stopping in and giving us the history of Lego. If you don't, folks, if you don't know Maniac4Bricks, he knows the history of Lego. Definitely check his YouTube out. I mean, don't take my word for it. Go see him.
Thank you very much for having me on here. It's been great to talk with you and get to hear some other people's reactions. I saw a couple comments here and there.
Yeah.
And really enjoyed what was being shown.
Yeah, definitely, man. And I definitely appreciate your words of wisdom about the Lego community as well. So, folks, that's episode 26 of On the Icebox with Iceberg Bricks. The guest was one and only Maniac4Bricks. And so with his kind words is to be fair in the community, love one another. So with that, I bid you peace, love, and Lego. Good night.
Good words to live by.